Hi, and welcome to the introduction to our course. So quick introduction to me. I've been teaching for several years now. My first teaching job was in Micronesia. I've taught in the United States, in Minnesota mostly. I've taught English, social studies, cultural studies elective classes, and in those classes I've often taught Japanese focus cultural study. So we look at the history, the language, the writing, all sorts of things like that. I've taken several classes through NCTA. If this is your first class, I highly recommend taking more. It's a really awesome program. If you've already taken several classes, I just encourage you to keep taking them. There's always new things available, new classes being out, new topics. And as far as my experience with this book, I've used this book in social studies classes, honors history, regular history. I've used it in cultural studies classes. It's a really awesome book. Alright, a quick introduction to the author. The author was born in the early 19th century. The late 19th century. Did not live very long. He commits suicide when he's about 35 years old. He does study at university, and his main area of study is English literature. He spends about 3 years studying American lit and European lit. He's really impacted on this style of writing, which is very different from what's being written in Japan at this time. This has a huge effect on him, and one of the things that kind of affects him is he looks at characters, and he doesn't want two-dimensional characters. So he takes these traditional stories from Japan, and instead of just retelling them, what he does is he adds a psychological element to the story, and he makes the characters much more rounded. Think of it like this. If you've seen the 3 most recent Batman movies, or any one of them, one of the things that made them so popular is that they humanized the villains. We get to see the backstory for the villains. We get to see their thought process, their motivation. They're not these two-dimensional paper characters. And that's something that the author really works hard on doing in these short stories. He's going to be one of the most translated authors in Japanese history, also one of the most prolific authors in Japanese history, writing over 100 short stories. Some of his stories have been turned into movies. The most famous, by Kurosawa, is called Rashomon. You can look that up on YouTube, and the full black and white film is there. As far as cinematography goes, it's considered a masterpiece. He's often considered the father of short stories in Japan. He's going to influence generations after him. And you can see this by the fact that they actually have a writing prize named after him. Alright, quick introduction to this. The copy I have here, and the copy I've pictured here, this was from 1999. Obviously, if the guy was born in the late 19th century, writing mostly in the early 20th century, his stories are going to be older. You can find free copies of this book online. You can find this exact copy I have through Amazon, through the local library. Your school library might even have a copy. One of the things that I think is really awesome is just the amount of different versions of this that are online. There's Kindle versions. Amazon has several different versions of this. You can see pictures of the cover art below. And most recently was a graphic novelization, and I'm really looking forward to reading that. I haven't had a chance yet, but at some point in the next couple of months I look forward to doing that. Alright, in this book there are 6 short stories. The plan is to read 1 per week. This will allow us to really kind of delve deeper into each story. Look at how we could teach it, look at what can be learned from the story, deconstruct some of the aspects of the story. One thing you should know is that most of these stories take place before the author was born. They take place during the classical and feudal eras of Japan. So 12th to 19th century. Yes, I know he was born in the late 19th century, but they take place before he was born. All right, now if you're a little worried about the reading level. Yeah, stories are almost 100 years old. They've been translated. The Lexile score for this particular copy of the book puts it at a 6th to 8th grade reading level. If you don't know what Lexile is, some people have gone on, looked at vocabulary, looked at comprehension, things like that, and they said that this level is at this grade's reading level. So this would be at about a upper 7th grade level, 8th grade level. So definitely don't be worried about teaching it in high school. And even if you do teach it with middle schoolers, just know there's going to be some words in here that are tough for them to know. But a lot of those words that are tough are actually going to be Japanese words. If those were in English, I think the Lexile score would be much lower. We're talking like 5th, 6th grade level. So 1030 is not that high for Lexile score. Like I said, some of the words in here are in Japanese, which allows for some kind of fun stuff to do in class. In my cultural studies class, I've often taught language for Japan, reading, writing, pronunciation. So it's kind of fun to pull out the Hiragana chart and go through. This will help kids who are stumbling over some of the words. Pronunciation is pretty simple. Starting on the top here, it's a, I, u, e, o, ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, sa, shi, su, se, su. You get the idea. I've had several Japanese language teachers, the most recent of which has said that I have an accent like I'm a hillbilly. So I don't really know what that means, but I'm guessing that means that you might find some people with some slightly different pronunciations. But there you go. My favorite thing to do is to teach kids a particular phrase when we start this book. I say the most useful phrase you need to know if you ever go to Japan is sumimasen, are wa toire desu ka? Which is, excuse me, where's the toilet? Definitely a useful phrase. Usually gets kids to laugh and we get to have a little bit of fun. Alright, here's what you got to do for week 1. If you haven't already created your biography on the website, on the NCTA website, do that. Go into the book, read the introduction and the preface. Won't take you long at all. If you're someplace where there's a snowstorm, just while you're warming up your car, you should be able to get through those. Answer the questions that are online. This gives us a chance to get to know each other and to see that you aren't having any technical problems. There are going to be some resources posted on the website, on the NCTA website. Look through those. You don't have to look too hard, but just check through, see if there's anything that interests you, that you want to look deeper on. Some of the things that will be on there is I'm going to post some links to overview video website, video PowerPoints that I've made for feudal and classical Japan. Not in depth, but kind of a little preview of the areas, or the eras. And that's it. Hopefully this was pretty quick and painless for you. I look forward to hearing from each of you when you read the book.